Reading teachers love to read. They love reading novels. They love reading novels to their students. Right now, that's a little bit harder. But one of the best things that any reading teacher experiences is when a student absolutely adores the book. But what usually comes after this is that question. The very first question as soon as we finish the book. Hey, has this been made into a movie? Well, I have 7 books for you today, some you've heard of, some you may not have, that will give you a taste of maybe something you would like to try. And yes, they have been, or soon will be, made into a movie. So, see if there's one you would like to try, and then compare it to the movie. Then you'll know that Miss Hurd is right. The book is always better. Tuck Everlasting by Natalie Babbitt. Doomed to, or blessed with, eternal life after drinking from a magic spring, the Tuck family wanders about trying to live as inconspicuously and comfortably as they can. When 10-year-old Winnie Foster stumbles on their secret, the Tucks take her home and explain why living forever at one age is less a blessing than it might seem. Complications arise when Winnie is followed by a stranger who wants to market the spring water for a fortune. Prologue. The first week of August hangs at the very top of summer, the top of the livelong year, like the highest seat of a Ferris wheel when it pauses in its turning. The weeks that come before are only a climb from balmy spring, and those that follow a drop to the chill of autumn. But the first week of August is motionless and hot. It is curiously silent, too, with blank white dawns and glaring noons, and sunsets smeared with too much color. Often at night there is lightning, but it quivers all alone. There is no thunder, no relieving rain. These are strange and breathless days, the dog days, when people are led to do things they are sure to be sorry for after. One day at that time, not so very long ago, 3 things happened, and at first there happened to be no connection between them. At dawn, May Tuck set out on her horse for the wood at the edge of the village of Tree Gap. She was going there, as she did once every 10 years, to meet her 2 sons, Miles and James. At noontime, Winnie Foster, whose family owned the Tree Gap wood, lost her patience at last and decided to think about running away. And at sunset, a stranger appeared at the Fosters' gate. He was looking for someone, but he didn't say who. No connection, you would agree, but things can come together in strange ways. The wood was at the center, the hub of the wheel. All wheels must have a hub. A Ferris wheel has one, as the sun is the hub of the wheeling calendar. Fixed points they are, and best left undisturbed, for without them, nothing holds together. But sometimes people find this out too late. Jacob Have I Loved by Katherine Paterson. Blood and Water. Sarah Louise Bradshaw knows that she should be proud of her beautiful twin, Caroline. But how can she? Ever since they were born, Caroline has done nothing but take from Louise. Their parents' love, Louise's hopes for an education, even her best and only friend. For once in her life, Louise wants to experience the kind of happiness that has always come so easily to Caroline. But in order to do so, she must first figure out who she is, and then she must make a place for herself outside her sister's shadow. A Wrinkle in Time by Madeleine Lee Engel. 50 years ago, Lee Engel introduced A Wrinkle in Time and the unforgettable characters Meg and Charles Wallace Murray and Calvin O'Keefe to the world. Meg and Charles Wallace's father, Mr. Murray, has mysteriously disappeared while experimenting with tesseracts, wrinkles that transport a person across space and time. When the children learn that Mr. Murray is being held captive on the planet Camazotz, 3 otherworldly creatures named
Mrs. Whatsit, Mrs. Who, and Mrs. Witch help them test her there to rescue them. To save Mr. Murray, Meg and Charles Wallace and Calvin must face Camazot's leader, It, in the ultimate battle between good and evil, a fight that threatens their lives and our entire universe.
Holes by Louis Sachar. Stanley Yelnats is under a curse. A curse that began with his no-good, dirty, rotten, pig-stealing great-great-grandfather and has since followed generations of Yelnats. Now Stanley has been unjustly sent to a boys' detention center, Camp Green Lake, where the boys build character by spending all day, every day, digging holes. Exactly 5 feet wide and 5 feet deep. There is no lake at Camp Green Lake, but there are an awful lot of holes. It doesn't take long for Stanley to realize there's more than character improvement going on at Camp Green Lake. The boys are digging holes because the warden is looking for something. But what could be buried under a dried up lake? Stanley tries to dig up the truth in this inventive and darkly humorous tale of crime and punishment and redemption.
Aragon by Christopher Paolini. One boy, one dragon, a world of adventure. When Aragon finds a polished blue stone in the forest, he thinks it is the lucky discovery of a poor farm boy. Perhaps it will buy his family meat for the winter. But when the stone brings a dragon hatchling, Aragon soon realizes he has stumbled upon a legacy nearly as old as the Empire itself. Overnight, his simple life is shattered, and he is thrust into a perilous new world of destiny, magic, and power. With only an ancient sword and the advice of an old storyteller for guidance, Aragon and the fledgling dragon must navigate the dangerous terrain and the dark enemies of an empire ruled by a king whose evil knows no bounds. Can Aragon take up the mantle of the legendary dragon riders? The fate of the empire may rest in his hands.
Divergent by Veronica Roth. In Beatrice Pryor's dystopian world, society is divided into 5 factions, each dedicated to the cultivation of a particular virtue. Dauntless, the brave. Candor, the honest. Abnegation, the selfless. Amity, the peaceful. And erudite, the intelligent. On an appointed day every year, all 16-year-olds must select the faction to which they will devote the rest of their lives. For Beatrice, the decision is between staying with her family and being who she really is. She can't have both. So she makes a choice that surprises everyone, including herself. During the highly competitive initiation that follows, Beatrice renames herself Triss and struggles alongside her fellow initiates to live out the choice they have made. Together, they must undergo the extreme physical tests of endurance and intense psychological simulations, some with devastating outcomes. Triss must determine who her friends really are and where exactly a romance with a sometimes fascinating, sometimes exasperating boy fits into the life she's chosen. But Triss also has a secret, one she's kept hidden from everyone because she's been warned it can mean death. And as she discovers unrest and growing conflict that threaten to unravel her seemingly perfect society, she also learns that her secret might help her save those she loves, or it might destroy her.
Artemis Fowl by Eoin Colfer. 12-year-old Artemis Fowl is a millionaire, a genius, and above all, a criminal mastermind. But even Artemis doesn't know what he's taken on when he kidnaps a fairy, Captain Holly Short of the LEP, Leprechaun Unit. These aren't the fairies of bedtime stories. These fairies are armed and dangerous. Artemis thinks he has them right where he wants them. but then they stopped playing by the rules. Prologue. How does one describe Artemis Fowl? Various psychiatrists have tried and failed. The main problem is Artemis's own intelligence. He bamboozles every test thrown at him. He has puzzled the greatest medical minds and sent many of them gibbering to their own hospitals. There is no doubt that Artemis is a child prodigy, but why does someone of such brilliance dedicate himself to criminal activities? This is a question that can be answered by only one person, and he delights in not talking. Perhaps the best way to create an accurate picture of Artemis is to tell the by now famous account of his first villainous venture. I have put together this report from first-hand interviews with the victims, and as the tale unfolds, you will realize that this was not easy. The story began several years ago. At the dawn of the 21st century, Artemis Fowl had devised a plan to restore his family's fortune, a plan that could topple civilizations and plunge the planet into a cross-species war. He was 12 years old at the time.